And good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, whichever part of the world you are in. My name is Yusuf Ismail from the South African Debate Initiative. This is a live stream on the Coventry Faith Foundation YouTube channel, as well as going to be uploaded soon on the South African Debate Initiative channel. These are channels that have been talking about the Israeli genocide for more than a year. And we've been partnering with like-minded individuals opposed to racist fascism, opposed to ideological Zionism. We've partnered with like-minded Jews and community activists, and indeed political activists on this particular topic. And so today, I'm joined by none other than Rabbi Dovid Feldman from the Neturei Charta, one of the spokespersons of the Neturei Charta based in New York City. But if I may add, one of the more articulate gentlemen articulating his positions and confronting the evils and sadistic nature of Zionism, which is now before our eyes. So all the way from New York City, Shalom, Rabbi. And if you are in South Africa, I would say good evening, but more particularly to you, good afternoon. And
good afternoon.
Back again after a year.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning for some people in other parts of the world. And definitely it's a pleasure to meet you again, Yusuf. We have met before on this show, and this is a privilege. It's an honor for me, especially when we have these media outlets that are here to help the public to understand and to overcome so much propaganda. This is crucially needed, and we thank you for that.
Well, fantastic. And I mean, so much has happened since we last chatted. I mean, we now again see our countries and many other countries at the International Court of Justice over the past couple of days. But more particularly, you've had reports by Amnesty International, by Human Rights Watch, by B'Tselem, which is the Israeli human rights organization based in Israel itself. And not surprisingly, we've now had two occasions where Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has been in the United States. And we now have this war criminal, this notorious, evil, sadistic war criminal, Nazi-like creature known as Itamar Ben-Gvir, who has been in your state, who's been actually in your city. And I don't know if you've had any kind of interactions with him. First, just explain to us who this character is, who was a Nazi ideologically, but has entered the mainstream of Israeli policy.
Well, this is very puzzling. Ben-Gvir is a radical, far extremist, even amongst the Israeli society. Now, originally, this Ben-Gvir approach is supposed to be ostracized even by Zionists themselves. He is a follower of Meir Kahane, who claimed to be a rabbi. This Kahane was ostracized from his own communities he came from Brooklyn, New York. And these Kahane Chai, this JDL movement, this is well known as a terrorist movement, and this is already known for decades. Now, when this Ben-Gvir comes, once again to bring again this extremist approach, this is very puzzling. It's not only puzzling, it's not only, as you say, this is criminal, but in addition to all crimes that Israel commits for the longest time, for decades, and in addition to this genocide going on, and then we find, this extremist settler individual or character expressing his radicalism. This is going beyond all limits. But here comes in a very important thing. For us as Jewish people, as religious Jewish people, when all of this disturbs us so deeply for many, many reasons, but just because we are humans, we are seeing what is happening that in the past over 18 months, this genocide going on, and simply because we are human, we have to do something about it. We have to say something about it. We cannot in no way remain silent when we are seeing what's going on. But because we are religious Jews following God and his religion, and the state of Israel claims to represent or to misuse the Jewish religion to justify all these crimes, this is just so much more important for us to say something and to do something about it, because our religion is being misrepresented, our people are being misrepresented, and this is a true desecration of God's name. Now, when Ben-Gvir comes supposedly as a religious Jew with a yarmulke, with the head covering on his head, this is just making all crimes he represents much worse, because what he's doing is he's trying to present an image as if his approach is somehow religious, and that the Jewish religion supports these policies. And this is truly misleading, and not only misleading, as I said, this is a true desecration of God's name. We have to understand, if, like, for example, theft, stealing is criminal. It's criminal not only in simple civil law. This is criminal in any religion. When you find, God forbid, a religious person stealing, doesn't make theft religious in no way. It's just way more embarrassing when we see a religious person stealing, because that religious person was supposed to be way more careful for what they're doing. Now, when we find people claiming to be religious and they support Zionism, this doesn't make Zionism religious. This doesn't make genocide religious. This doesn't make killing and stealing religious. On the contrary, according to Judaism, this is a way worse crime when you're doing that crime in the name of a religion. Even without it, these crimes are ridiculous, criminal, and needs to be stopped. But when this is being done supposedly in the name of a religion, misusing a religion to justify all these crimes, this is way worse. Now, when we find Ben-Gvir coming here, when Netanyahu comes here to the United States, we do everything we can. We come out, we chase him, and we protest his presence. We protest his his personality to begin with, but his approach and his policies and all what he's doing. But when this is Ben-Gvir, this is way worse. We protested Ben-Gvir in New Jersey, in New York, and a number of places to make it clear that he does not represent all Jews, and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. But I have to make clear here, it's not only Ben-Gvir radicalism that we oppose. It's not only Netanyahu extremism that we oppose. It's not only the far right extremism which is wrong. This occupation in its entirety is wrong. This is not only a violation of international law, this is a violation of Judaism. Killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people are crimes in Judaism. And it happens to be, which we have to reiterate and we have to remember, it is not only the crimes of Israel which is contrary to Judaism. The whole movement, the philosophy of Zionism is in total contrast of Judaism. We have to remember the difference between Judaism and Zionism. Despite all Zionist propaganda, they try to do everything they can to have people think and believe that Zionism is a part of Judaism. But we need to know better. Judaism is a religion only. No politics to it, no nationalism. It's simple, the belief in Almighty God, the practice of His commandments, and that's all what Judaism stands for. Versus Zionism, which is a purely political movement, and which doesn't even believe in God. We need to understand. We have a movement of Zionism. We have a state of Israel that doesn't even claim to be religious. Netanyahu doesn't even claim to follow Judaism. He doesn't claim to eat kosher or to observe the Sabbath. And these people dare to misuse that very religion they refuse to follow in order to justify a movement or justify crimes which are forbidden in this very same religion. This is hypocrisy. Judaism is not only different than Zionism. Zionism is the total contrast of Judaism. What Zionism is saying is, God forbid, you no longer have to believe in God or practice His commandments in order to be Jewish. You just have to support this national movement of Zionism. This is a true uprooting of our religion. And they do this on a large scale, where they uproot the Jewish religion from the masses of the Jewish people. And they do this already for 100 years, since the beginning of this movement. In addition, this concept of building a sovereign homeland for Jews, which is the philosophy of Zionism behind the state of Israel, Jewish people are in danger and they need a safe haven and so on. This is in total contrast of Judaism. In basics of Judaism, there's a concept of Jewish exile, which according to our religion is a divine decree. This is God's will, whether it is comfortable or it isn't. Jewish people are required to accept God's will. We are forbidden to end this exile by any physical means. We are required by our religion to be loyal citizens, peaceful neighbors in whichever country we live. This is how Jewish people acted for thousands of years. This movement of Zionism, we're talking about the Jewish religion 3,000 years old, and then we have a relatively new movement of Zionism just over 100 years old, which was not invented in the minds of some religious scholars or Jewish rabbis. This was invented by people who hated God and hated his religion. This is how far away these people were from Judaism. And those people, and only those people, could have ever come up with a movement, with an approach, with a philosophy which is so far away of Judaism. And still in all, they insist that they represent the Jewish people and that their movement is in line with the Jewish religion. And this is truly embarrassing, desecrating God's name, and on top of all, dangerous to so many people. And I have to be clear, when we're talking many times about anti-Semitism, the safety of the Jewish people, the state of Israel, from its beginning, and especially recently, is doing so much harm. This Nakba, this catastrophe for the Palestinian people, but not only for the Palestinian people. They are bringing so much danger to the Jewish people as well, because they insist that they speak or act in the name of all Jews. Now, what I said just a couple of days ago in Rutgers University, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I said, when people blame Palestinians or Arabs for being racist and blaming all Jews for what is happening in Palestine, I say it's not anyone being racist other than the Zionists, who insist that they represent all Jews, and they say that all Jews are accountable to what is happening. This is true anti-Semitism. This is true racism. Not only racism towards Palestinians, this is racism towards Jews. We have to know better. We have to understand that the state of Israel in no way represents all Jews. And there are masses of Jewish people worldwide who disagree with everything that's happening. Some people come out in public, and some people are intimidated, as you know.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask you this. I think you've laid out the basis of the distinction, particularly between this racist ideology called Zionism, and you pointed out that a lot of secular individuals, Zionists, Biden himself was a dedicated Zionist, as many of the United States presidents. My question to you then is that, as an Orthodox rabbi, certainly which you are, and following the foundational tenets of Judaism, and you are an authentic. I want people out there to know that your group, the Netzrai Karta, and certainly yourself personally, is an authentic representation of what normative Judaism is. And I think as Muslims, we could also make the distinction where we say ISIS is a death cult and so on and so forth. My question to you now, when you look at someone like Itamar Ben-Gvir, who I don't know if you've met, maybe you can share with us, or Bezalel Smotrich, they come from not just an ideologically racist Nazi-like background, but they also come, from a supposed Jewish background. And you mentioned Rabbi Meir Kahane and so on. The Judaism that they follow, that so-called Judaism that he's following, and I'm going to show some of the images where he was rejected on the streets of New York and New Jersey and so on. But that Judaism, which he allegedly follows, what underpins the values and beliefs of that particular ideology. I'm not talking about Zionism, but I'm talking about it from a religious point of view. What underpins it? I mean, is this Kahane? Was Meir Kahane the founder of some sort of Jewish cult, extremist cult? Is this a cult that we're talking about, or is this just simply an aberration or form of extremism? So that our viewers can know the distinction between the two.
Now, there's so much to talk about this, but let's try to make this like simple. Generally speaking, Zionism is a secular movement.
Yes.
Going back to the very beginning of Zionism, the founders of Zionism, Theodor Herzl and his colleagues, those people were outspoken heretics. They didn't follow anything in Judaism. When they came up with this new solution for the Jewish people, this was not intended to be anything with religion whatsoever. They basically hated religion. They wanted to have a purely national political movement. They came to a point where they realized that unless they incorporate religion into their movement, they wouldn't have the necessary support they need. They realized that they will have to have the support from religious Jews and religious non-Jews. Therefore, they decided to incorporate religion, the Jewish religion, misusing it, misinterpreting it, confusing the masses, Jews and non-Jews. And by doing so, they planned to be successful. And unfortunately, they were. They succeeded to confuse masses of people. Now, those people still are not religious. But then you have a segment of religious Zionists. They will try to find a way where to twist some verses and some parts of Judaism, and to try to present this in a way where they claim that the Jewish religion condones the movement of Zionism. And as I said, this just makes way worse this whole situation, because when you misuse a religion, it's way worse than you do the crimes without the religion. Now, those people, when you're asking about the religion they are following, I'm not saying that other parts of Judaism they are not observing. I don't know. They might observe the Shabbos, the Sabbath. They might eat kosher. I'm not saying that they are violating each and every law of Judaism. There's a good chance that they are following a part of Judaism, or maybe the majority of the laws in Judaism. But at least when it comes to Zionism, they are at least totally confused, or maybe even wicked, and taking part of this distortion of Judaism. But I cannot even say that very clearly, because I don't know them so personally. There are so many people today in the Zionist movement who sometimes I'm reluctant to say this, but I will still say it. People might be innocent to a certain extent. They know nothing better. They believe that this is the religion that their grandparents gave their lives for. And they believe that this is the religion that God gave for Moses on Mount Sinai. Sadly, they believe that because they follow so much confusions and so much misrepresentation of that very same religion they claim to follow. But in any case, regardless what the situation is, in any case, this is a true distortion, not of my religion. This is a true distortion of the religion these people claim to follow. This is a total distortion of that religion that their grandparents gave their lives for. And let me add, when we're talking in particular about Zionism, it is these concepts I mentioned before that Judaism teaches: the acceptance of the godly decree of exile, and the prohibition of fighting any nation, waging wars or conflict with anyone. It is these tenets of Judaism that their grandparents fervently believed in. If these people will study what their tradition is, they will discover that it is anti-Zionist. But unfortunately, there is so much confusion. Therefore, it's so important. And I believe that this is the most important. Awareness and education. People need to be aware. People need to be have the channels to be able to learn. And unfortunately, today with mainstream media, unfortunately, this is a major problem because people only follow mainstream media, Zionist propaganda, designed propaganda to manipulate the minds of the masses. And then what do you expect? Unfortunately, we find today so much mass murder, so much genocide going on, so much desecration of God's name, so much violation of Judaism, so much uprooting of the religion. And people don't understand, don't get it. They simply don't see what's wrong. And it's outsiders, non-Jews, who are puzzled by what's going on. This is a desecration of Judaism. This is what disturbs me deeply as a religious person.
Tell me, and I understand that sense of disturbance. I would feel the same. Would you then, in the circumstances, call for not in the spiritual sense, but in the physical sense, the disbandment, at least at a legal level, of the secular nation state of Israel? Would you call for that?
I call for the total dismantlement of the state of Israel, not only of that secular state of Israel, even if Ben-Gvir would be the prime minister, and even if the cabinet would be run by Jewish law, I would still call for the dismantlement of this entire state of Israel because it does so much harm to others and violates so much very basics of Judaism. This has no right in our religion, in my religion, to exist even for one day. In the same time, we fervently pray to Almighty God that when this ends, this should end peacefully with no more suffering of anyone, because so much is taking place. So many lives have been lost on all sides of the conflict. So much bloodshed. We hope that this will stop. And we believe that ending this movement of Zionism in its entirety, ending this state of Israel, is not only going to be in favor of the oppressed people of Palestine who deserve freedom and who deserve a better future, but this is going to be in favor of the Jewish people as well, because Jewish people suffer also because of all what's going on. There is so much consequences, so much going on all sides, and everybody is in danger. Everybody is suffering. This needs to end for the sake of everyone involved. And we believe...
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
We have to remember, contrary to Zionist propaganda, people think, the Jewish people are in danger. It's about the self-defense. We have those enemies out there who want to kill all the Jews. And therefore, we need a state of Israel to protect ourselves as self-defense. This is pure propaganda. Yes, certainly there are people who are deeply upset with the state of Israel to an extreme level. That is true. But the question is whether when anyone has anything about the Jewish people because they are Jewish. Let's remember, we must remember past history, because history is something that should teach us how things are supposed to look like. We have to remember past history. Yes, before 1948, before the creation of the State of Israel, there was already problems in Palestine. But it was the movement of Zionism which started all of these problems. It is the movement of Zionism coming in to Palestine and provocating the indigenous population which triggered so much problems. It was in the 1920s when Zionism came in and made a statement that they are going to overtake the power of the land. Obviously, naturally, the indigenous population would be upset. One of my mentors, one of my rabbis, passed away a couple of years ago. He said, if France comes into New York and invades New York and says that this is France, naturally people will become upset. But
of course, and I mean, you have, and this basically takes us then to the aspect of the Palestinian resistance, because generally they are presented as terrorists and as anti-Jewish. But you, Rabbi, you've met with the leadership of Hamas. you've met with the leadership of Hezbollah. Did you find them in any way anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic on a personal level?
Excellent point. Not at all. I met so many people, religious leaders, political leaders in many, many groups, many, many different countries. We never experienced anti-Semitism at all. For example, we met Ismail Haniyeh in Gaza in 2009. This was after the beginning of the siege. And he said to us in a private meeting and then in a public press conference, CNN was present and they didn't air it. And here's what he said, I quote, "We have nothing against the Jewish people, neither against the Jewish religion. We are against the occupation." Which is simple. It's simple. This is what we need to understand. We need to have other people understand this. There is no hatred towards the Jews. And we should be careful not to turn it into hatred towards the Jews. What I mentioned before, it is the Zionists who insist that they represent all Jews, which God forbid could lead people to hate all those people fighting them. I'm not justifying if it happens, but this is natural reaction. It is our duty, us as Jews, you as whoever you are, and all peoples of the world, to have things in perspective. Know what's going on. This is a gang of criminals committing crimes on the account, supposedly in the name of all Jews. This is criminal towards the Palestinians, criminal towards Jews.
I just want to share, Mohammed, in the background, if you can just share this video, this clip, my screen. If you can share my screen right now. I'm just going to, these are just a few second clips, but just to indicate what's basically happened. So this is outside at the U.S. Capitol. Look at the behavior. Watch this. Watch it.
More criminal! More criminal! More criminal!
And look at his behavior. Violent.
I'm eager to know what Ben-Gvir just said.
What did he say?
I don't know. I guess he said you should be killed by the Nazis.
But I want to say something here. There's a guy who's... Look at this. I want you to explain what he's saying here. There's a guy... Who is this rabbi here? Who's the guy here? Who's that rabbi? The one,
I have no idea.
The one next to him, the one on the right. Who is that guy? Rabbi Feldman. He's always on Piers Morgan. Who is that guy?
I'm not even sure. But what you do see is that wherever Ben-Gvir goes, he faces opposition. This is exactly how it's supposed to be.
I want people to see the Jewish opposition here. Watch this. What happens? Watch what happens here. Watch what happens here. So they're saying something to him. He's speaking and they're saying something to him.
Terrorists!
So we know that.
שלום בישראל, שלום בכל
ביום השואה, בעד האויבים
שלנו. אתה משקר, אני בעל הבית, אנחנו בעל הבית.
What is
he's mentioning about the Holocaust Memorial Day was Ben-Gvir mentioned in Hebrew.
All right.
And that's
and I mean these are people with Israeli flags against him.
Yeah.
So I mean, saying this shortly, but this is on Wall Street as well. A lot of them are Israelis.
what these people are saying, that even they, being Zionist, find Ben-Gvir to be dangerous to Jews. This is their message. But what we are saying is, regardless whether you're so extreme as Ben-Gvir or you're not, this is altogether criminal and wrong and forbidden according to Judaism. But you just see that even amongst the Zionist society, Ben-Gvir is considered an extremist, a terrorist.
Yeah, I mean, this is shocking. Then, of course, there's Code Pink. Code Pink was a lady. I mean, he was confronted by, I think, Code Pink at the Capitol House, and they called him a criminal. And then he's so aggressive.
Ben-Gvir, you're a war criminal. You're a war criminal, Ben-Gvir. You are a war criminal. You will kill my family in Gaza. You killed 50. Don't touch me.
You terrorists!
Don't touch
You
me.
kill our children!
Go
back.
Don't touch me. You Zionist mug. You scum. You scum.
Terrorists!
You scum. You scum. You killed my family in Gaza for 70 years. No babies have been killed, you liar. How many babies have you killed? 60,000 killed. 60,000 killed.
You belong to the Hague.
You
You are a racist.
war
You
criminal.
are responsible for genocide.
You are terrorists.
You are responsible for genocide. And what are you doing with him?
What am I doing with him? I'm a proud American Israeli who made Aliyah 5 years ago. One of the
You are
reasons
racist.
was to work with this man.
And this is a small lady, by the way, he's confronting.
Extremist, terrorist.
You are a terrorist. Terrorist occupier. 70 years.
He wants to fight. This guy wants to fight.
Because
this
we have
guy.
free rights. We have rights of speech. We have free speech rights. I'm an American with free speech rights, that's why. What happened to the 1,500 Palestinians that are arrested right now with no trial? No trial. 1,500 Palestinians arrested. Killing of 60,000 Palestinians.
Get out of our house. We don't want you here. Get out of here. And you're destroying my religion. You're creating anti-Semitism.
So, I mean, basically, what you can see is, I mean, there's dissatisfaction. This guy's so extreme. There's not just dissatisfaction amongst the general activists, but dissatisfactions amongst so-called American Israelis or people who generally support Israel. This is on the right of the right, the far right. And I mean, I bet you, if the bodyguards were not there, this guy would have gone and assaulted them. There was a young lady from Code Pink. Elderly, small-built, petite lady from Code Pink. This bastard would have gone and basically assaulted her. I mean, this guy is aggressive. This is an aggressive lot. He's the one that basically stated that Palestinians should be shot in the head and be kept in dungeons, in airless prisons, and so on. I mean, these are the psychopaths ruling society. And the rabbis, you can clearly see that this guy, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, the rest, they don't represent the values and the spirits of Judaism. Your thoughts, Rabbi?
Yes, exactly. In no way do they represent the Jewish religion they claim to represent. If we want to,
did you meet him? Did you meet Ben-Gvir in New York?
We just met him in a distance, and we protested him and shouted on him, and he was standing on those stairs.
Did they not allow you to come close to him?
No. And listen, I have no interest to meet him in person. There is no chance that I'm going to achieve anything. I achieve way more by protesting him than by approaching him. There is no way I'm going to change his mind. Many people prior to me didn't have success. So that's unfortunately the situation. But that said, we have to do what we have to do. We have to clarify for the rest of humanity to understand how wrong this is and what is supposed to be done. I just want to add a previous point. I didn't have a chance to conclude. When we are hoping for a dismantlement of this entire occupation, this entire state of Israel, we hope this be peaceful, and we believe that this is going to be in favor of the oppressed people of Palestine and the favor of the Jewish people. This is in favor of everyone, because the existence of this state of Israel is the danger of everyone involved. This needs to end.
Tell me, Rabbi, is there for Christian Zionists, because a lot of the people that we encounter in South Africa are not Jewish fanatics or extremists like Ben-Gvir. These are Christian fundamentalists, Christian fanatics, Christian Zionists. When Munter Isaac was in Durban, in South Africa, these same Christian fundamentalists attacked him, the oldest church in Bethlehem. My question to you, as an educational exercise, what passage or verse in the Bible, in the Old Testament, could we appeal to, or thematic outline could we appeal to say that the nation state of Israel, as it exists now, should not exist and should in fact be totally and utterly disbanded? What can the average person appeal to in educating these ignorant fools?
Oh, there's so much to talk. There's not like one single verse I can refer to, but there's so many verses which, when you take this all together, it shows you a total contrast to this whole mindset of Zionism. The idea of it's because of our sins we were exiled from our lands, being a divine decree. This is what we say in our prayers of the holidays. It is verses in the Torah which says, in Jeremiah, Prophet Jeremiah said, you should seek the welfare or the peace of the city where I exiled you into. There is this whole concept of the redemption, the Jewish redemption, is altogether totally different to what Zionism presents. They present a physical redemption of fighting and achieving a national homeland, while all what ultimate redemption in Judaism is a concept of the world should be filled with knowledge of Almighty God as the water fills the oceans. And then on top of all of this, there is the most important part is in the Talmud, which is part and parcel of Judaism, contrary to so much misquotations of our religion. The Talmud says that God placed the Jewish people into exile, and we are forbidden to end exile by any physical means. We are forbidden to return to the Holy Land in mass immigration. Individuals are allowed, but mass immigration is forbidden. And we are forbidden to fight or rebel against any nation. These are very basics of Judaism that was accepted by all Jews throughout all generations without any doubt or exception. This was accepted by all Jews until the movement of Zionism, which started by heretics, people who refused to follow Judaism. This all together, in whichever way you look on this is in total contrast of Judaism. I just recently lectured some students in one of the United States universities, and I tried to go through all these verses and all these concepts. This video might be available in a couple of weeks on our channels, on our platforms. You can always feel free to visit our website, N as in Nancy, K, USA.org. There is a lot of information there, and hopefully, as I said, this longer lecture would be hopefully available. There is so much I can share with you. Some documents with much information.
Well, I know your time has come to an end. You have to leave at 2:40, and I would like to have gone for another hour with you, but unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. I want to thank you, Rabbi, for your activism. I want to thank you and the Neturai Karta and people like Rabbi Weiss who, give him our regards. We met him in South Africa many years ago, and I've chatted to him online many times. And we want to say, on behalf of the South African Muslim community, that we support your activism and your movement and the Neturai Karta to the hilt. If there were more Jews and more Jewish rabbis, and certainly more Jewish organizations like you and your group and your organization, the entire world would be a better place. And I think this is just an indication that both Muslims and Jews, and in fact many Christians, can come together and stand up for what is right, for what is human, for what is indeed fundamentally moral, that what ties up these particular Abrahamic faiths, that we are basically in line of the same tradition, and we're not enemies of each other. We're enemies of Zionism, which is evil, which is a modern day form of Nazi fascism. We're enemies of the existing state of Israel. We call for the total disbandment of the state of Israel. It shouldn't exist morally, religiously, ideologically, or even in terms of international law. And so, Rabbi, I want to thank you for that, and Godspeed. And as I could clearly state from our perspective, Salamu alaikum or Shalom alaikum. You take care.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. I thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I hope that the listeners, the viewers, enjoy it. If there's any time I can be of any help, please let me know. I would love to help people be educated, be aware, and share some important information that maybe today is very limited to have access to. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, and you take care, Rabbi. We will continue the stream, but you go well. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are done there. Mohammed, I think the rabbi's done. I think you can. Yeah, thanks. So that's it. That was Rabbi Dovid Feldman, and he was busy basically discussing with us the sick psychopath, this war criminal, Israel's far-right security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. And when he was heckled in the United States just this week, and in Rabbi City, they were present. They confronted him. Their group confronted him, and American Israelis confronted him. I mean, that's how far and extreme this character is. But the world got a glimpse of his reputation. But for Palestinians, especially those subjected to his prison regime, the charge of war criminal isn't an insult to him. And it's not an insult. It's actually a fact. It's totally a fact. I mean, it's not surprising. Ben-Gvir's record is long. His provocations are numerous. But what has angered many people, both Palestinians and Palestinian journalists and Palestinian activists, is his obsession with turning incarceration into a theater of cruelty and insanity. What many people have saw about this psychopath, the sick bastard, the sick psychopath on the streets of Manhattan, on the Manhattan sidewalk. That's what many Palestinians live through. He was a fringe extremist once upon a time. He was a fringe extremist, a convicted terrorist, a supporter of this lunatic called Rabbi Meir Kahane. And he now presides over a system in which dehumanization is not just a consequence of policy, but it is the policy. It is, in fact, the policy. Last year in June 2024, you know what he said? He said, the psychopath stated, Ben-Gvir, we should shoot prisoners in the head instead of giving them more food because it's a tax. It's a burden. There wasn't a rhetorical slip. That was a candid window into a regime of state-sponsored torment. Earlier this year, this is at the beginning of this year, he on his Twitter feed on X, which is basically controlled by another super psychopath by the name of Elon Musk, they shared a video of Palestinian detainees kneeling under the barrels of rifles, and they were forced naked to repaint prison walls. So right now you've got here, 10,000 known Palestinian prisoners. Thousands more disappeared from Gaza. At this juncture, as it stands, I just want to share the screen. And Mohammed, you can also share the StreamYard link. If you can share the StreamYard link so people can basically see this. But I want to share the screenshot here in terms of some of the latest in terms of what we've seen. This is from the Turkish newspaper here. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. Share the screen here. Look at this. As of now, this is this month, in March, past month, March, and now leading into April. Israeli forces kidnap about 800 Palestinians only in March. Only in March. 84 of which were children. We're talking about children, not under 18, but children. And 18 women. 18 women. Since the start of this campaign, Israel's genocidal campaign, over 16,000 Palestinians have been arrested. Imagine that. More than 16,400 Palestinians have been arrested, including 510 women and 1,300 children. When are they going to be released? You're talking about the hostages, a few hostages that are there. When are these hostages kept in torture chambers? When are they going to be released? When are these particular people going to be released? We've shared the reports of sexual violence. We've shared, these are the dungeons. They're kept under these fascist Nazi-like conditions. A man detained for months told this journalist, interrogators presented him with a photograph of his wife and children wrapped in white clouds, claiming they had been killed in an airstrike. The pain overwhelmed him. He collapsed. Later, he discovered it was all a lie, a tactic to break him. They weren't looking for information. They were testing how much I could lose without dying. And so this is not basically a kind of a something which is an aberration. This is a norm. And Ben-Gvir, in fact, it's good to have people like Ben-Gvir so that the people out there see the evil for what it is. You see, with Ben-Gvir, with Bezalel Smotrich, with Netanyahu, you can see the evil now before its very eyes. Zionism and Israel has lost support. And like I stated, we're not squeamish on this channel. We don't call for two-state solutions. We don't call for, we called for one-state solution in the past, but a single nation state. But we call for the total and utter disbandment, as a rabbi put it, of the state of Israel. I mean, it's a total elimination of it. That's the only solution. Total occupation, not just of the West Bank and Gaza, but total occupation of all that land. They have to go. They have to end. The entire Knesset has to be disbanded. Israel as a nation should not exist. Should not exist. When you got people like Ben-Gvir believe in cruelty, when the protesters call him a war criminal, they were telling the truth. They were not heckling. The only issue is that the fact that it took so long for this to basically happen and in fact basically transpire. This is a real issue. This is a real issue that you basically have before you. Now, whilst we are here, there was a phenomenal documentary that was shown on BBC. It's been basically shown on some channels, but this is a documentary by a journalist by the name of Louis Theroux. Louis Theroux was a journalist, and he was showing images and what was going on basically in the Gaza Strip. Now, in this particular documentary, it's called The Settlers Inside it's in the Jewish settlements. In the Jewish settlements here, you see a particular interaction that he has with an Israeli settler by the name of Daniela Weiss. We've seen her before. So I want to basically just unpack this. It's about 3 minutes. And in unpacking this, I want people to see basically what we're dealing with and the type of sick satanic individuals that we are dealing with here. So I'm going to share this again on the screen, and so that people can see the evil that you basically are faced with in terms of what we see. So let me just get to this. Jews will go to Gaza. This is his lady, Daniela Weiss. I think there was something about her wanting to get the Nobel Peace Prize, shockingly enough, nominated for that. Here we are. Let's expand this, Mohammed, if we can expand this, and see if we can go here and play this. So this is a clip from the documentary, which I believe was shown on BBC, and it was basically on Israeli settlers in the West Bank. I wonder what the reaction must have been in the United Kingdom. Here we are.
Based on Jewish
Still
rules, on Jewish. But the next step, Jewish settlements in Gaza, is a very difficult step that demands a lot of work. You have to influence the leftists, the government, the nations of the world, using the magic system, Zionism. You redeem the land, you establish communities, you bring Jewish families, you live Jewish life, and this will bring light instead of darkness. And this is how the state of Israel was established. And this is what we want to do in Gaza. We do for governments what they cannot do for themselves. Even if you take Netanyahu now, he is very happy with what we do here and also about our plans to build Jewish communities in Gaza. He's happy about it, but he cannot say it. He says the opposite. It's not realistic. Good! We will make it realistic. It's not forcing the government. It's helping the government. It's step number one in politics. You don't force the government. You give the government the courage, the ability, the public support, the political support. We very much encourage and enable the population in Gaza to go to other countries. You will witness how Jews go to Gaza and Arabs disappear from Gaza.
Daniela had told me she'd signed up 800 families who were ready to move into Gaza. The idea seemed to be to get spiritual buy-in from the two rabbis. One of them was next to speak, Rabbi Dov.
תראו רבותיי, לפי עניות דעתי, לפי מה שאני מבין במקורות שלנו, עם הפראים האלה לא היה שלום.
So now just compare these fools, these 6 satanic rabbis, with a good man like Rabbi Feldman. I mean, a true, the Quran says, minhum al-mu'minuna wa aktharum al-fasiqun. Many amongst them you will find believers, but the majority of them are perverted transgressors. So quite clearly, these are the perverted transgressors that the Quran, in fact, describes.
אין שלום ולא יהיה שלום. לא שאני לא רוצה שלום, גם אני רוצה שלום. ארץ זה שייכת אך ורק לעם ישראל, וכל עזה וכל לבנון, כל זה צריכים לשמור.
All of Gaza, all of Lebanon. That's what we're talking about, all of Lebanon.
לנקות את הארץ מהרוכבי הגמלים.
What is on my mind all the time is how to bring more people to settle the land. I never think in terms of, I know this is beta.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about beta.
Why not?
Because I think about, I'm a Jew.
The people.
I'm a settler.
The people.
I'm a human being.
Yes, you are. So are they.
So I do not think about this.
You're thinking about tribalism, thinking of your own people to the exclusion. It would be understandable to think of your own people or your own children first, but to think about other people, other children, not at all, that seems sociopathic.
So this is basically what you've got here, sociopath. This is a sociopath. We're dealing with a sociopath where she admits everything. She basically shows her full colors. On this particular documentary, and I believe it was basically, shown on BBC, and essentially, illustrates the evil that you've got. And I mean, he did this before. He about 10 years ago, I think 10 or 15 years ago, he spoke to Daniela Lurie of the Ataret Kohanim, the ultra-Zionists. Similar thing happened. In relation to this. So these kind of women, this woman should essentially terrify you. She should basically terrify you, as Owen Jones basically stated in his recent documentary, in his recent video clip on this. Same thing should basically happen in terms of these evil, sick, sadistic, satanic individuals that have absolutely no shame in terms of what they're doing, of what they're engaging in. And I urge all people to come out and stand up against this kind of evil. I don't know if we've got anyone in the stream. Mohammed, if there's anyone that wants to join us, please want to challenge us, come and join us. But know that you are skirting on thin ice. If you believe you can defend this kind of sick, satanic, sadistic ideology known as Zionism, well, we invite you to come and try your best in terms of what you can stand and support and what you can justify. But the reality of the situation is that you've got nothing. You've got absolutely nothing to say. You've got nothing to do. You've got nothing to effectively engage in. And so I'm basically not even going to bother with the sick individuals out there that want to basically try their best in terms of what they're doing. Now, recently we've had the situation where, Russia and so on have been basically, in the South African government has been at the International Court of Justice. They've been there. They've basically presented arguments and they've challenged Israel, particularly in relation to the recent goings on that has basically happened. Israel, according to the reports in the local newspaper, has been accused of starving Gaza by design. And they told the International Court of Justice that the deprivation of the people of Gaza of humanitarian aid and condemning an entire civilization got nothing to do with Hamas, got nothing to do with Hamas stealing aid, which was total lies. But South Africa is one of approximately 40 countries delivering remarks, and that delivered remarks at the ICJ stated that the ICJ needs to make a ruling and gauge Israel's responsibility for the humanitarian crisis and the starvation and the killing that's happening in Gaza. By the way, Israel has not sent a delegation to this hearing. There's no, you had the entire legal team. You had the entire legal team last year at the National Court of Justice when it's been accused of genocide. Right now, Israel sent nothing. They've sent nothing. Who has come to their defense is the United States, as we'd probably expect, and countries like Hungary. And those countries at the end. And so this collapse is by design, because Israel Katz, that's the present defense minister, Israel Katz, the present defense minister, as late as the 16th of April 2025, last month, he made it clear. Israel's policy is clear. No humanitarian aid is about to enter Gaza. That's what he stated. There are no preparations to enable such particular forms of aid. So, under the world's watchful eyes, then, the Palestinians across the entire occupied Palestinian territories are not just being subjected to atrocity, persecution, war crimes, genocide, and being burned alive. We also have a situation where they're being starved to death. They're being totally starved to death. And, there were various court orders last year on the 26th of January by the ICJ, on the 28th of March by the ICJ, on the 24th of May by the ICJ. All of those rulings, they constituted legal obligations for Israel to allow and facilitate the unimpeded passage of humanitarian aid to Gaza in full cooperation with the United Nations. Israel, despite the court order, has violated every single one. In about 1.5 months after its legislation of banning UNRWA came into effect, it redoubled its denial of aid by imposing an 8-week-long blockade on Gaza. An 8-week-long blockade on Gaza last year. And so you've got total destruction. Total and utter destruction that has basically happened. Vital aid. They're not giving food. You see, those apologists out there who are making the claim that Israel is giving food, they're lying. Those who are claiming that Israel is giving, Hamas is stealing the food aid, they are lying. Israel is not giving any food. Period. They are starving the entire population. And what I mean by that is that they're not allowing independent food agencies to enter Gaza. That's what's happening now. They're not allowing it. So if anyone wants to defend this, come on this platform and attempt to defend it, and we'll expose you for the scam and the liar and the evil scoundrel that you are. We're not gonna play any kind of games here. We're gonna expose you for what you are and what you essentially stand for. So this is what's been happening basically at the ICJ for the past couple of days. We also have a situation where besides the presence of Ben-Gvir in New York City, you have a situation just a couple of days ago where a mob of Orthodox Jewish men chase a woman and abuse a woman, not in Israel, but in Brooklyn, New York. Let's have a look. Rabbi, expose this. Let me try and share this particular screen, and let me present this here. I'm going to share this, Mohammed, so we can, and we're sharing our link as well. So if anyone wants to join, please come and join. So let me just share this, and let me expand the screen. If you can share this, Mohammed, on the screen, if we've got it there, just see what happens. This is a situation where there's a mob of Orthodox Jewish men chasing women after a protest at a Brooklyn synagogue. This is what happens to her. It's about 1 minute. Have a look at this. They're spitting at her. These men are abusing her.
Your John voice is going on. Listen up. Your John voice is going on.
Can you see that? Can you see what these bastards do? They kick her. They kick her in the back. This is in Brooklyn, New York. These fanatics, sick psychopathic Zionists. What did they do? What did they do here? They threw a bin at her. So this is basically the kind of evil that we are dealing with here. It's shocking in terms of what's going on there in the States. This is another organization called Code Pink. Code Pink is a remarkable old woman. Well, I wouldn't say that old, but she's basically quite small in size. We've seen her in the past. And she's got this knack of confronting some of these these individuals that are basically engaging in the worst kind of atrocities. This is her meeting with Ben-Gvir, and I'm going to share this so that people can see what Muslim activists and some of these YouTubers that talk a lot and speak a lot, and Muslim leaders out there, Arab leaders, Arab nation states are not doing. This is what these people are doing. This tiny woman, look, let's just see what she's doing. I'm going to present this and share this for a moment. We can share my screen. Code pink. That's it here. Here we are. If you can just share this on the screen, Mohammed, and then we can share this here. Yeah, here we are. This is a group called Code Pink. Code Pink is a feminist grassroots peace and social justice movement to end U.S. warfare and imperialism and redirect our resources into healthcare, education, and other life-affirming activities. So it's a feminine organization. This was her with the war criminal Ben-Gvir. Have a look at this.
Criminal. More criminal. More criminal.
This is her. This is her. You've seen a bit of this. But look at the violence of this man in the U.S. Capitol. And then here she is confronting, she confronts so many people, politicians. This is one where she confronts a congressman, a clueless congressman. Let's just have a look at this.
No, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of 2 months now without food going into Gaza?
How are they eating? They should be dead by now if they don't have any food.
Well, they're going hungry. Are you concerned about that?
If they have no food for 2 months, then they're all dead. So
well, there's no
really
food going in right now. So people are malnourished. Have you seen the pictures of the hungry kids? Of people that, the World Food Program have said they run out of food?
I have not heard that.
Well, please look that up because they run out of food. It's starvation now, and that is a war crime.
I mean, and this is another.
This is a congressman who pushed a Code Pink person north and said that she had pushed
tiny
him.
she
This is an anti-Semitic, horrible person who
She is not anti-Semitic.
War criminals.
We do not. You falsely accused a Code Pink woman of liar, which was a total lie,
You
and
are
you are a
anti-Semitic
genocide. You
person.
lie, you lie, you lie. You have been supporting genocide every day for the last year and a half.
Yeah, why
you are a horrible person.
Why are you supporting the killing
Do
of
you
children?
support the starvation of children now?
This
why are you
lady
starving
supports
families?
genocide of the Jewish
Why are you
people.
supporting
She is a
genocide?
terrible person.
This man, you are disgusting. And you support genocide. You support the starvation.
You've lost.
You
You've
support
lost. You've lost
the
the fight.
killing of babies.
You've already lost.
I mean, remarkable. This is just such a remarkable group, a remarkable organization. I mean, this is what we should basically be engaging in and dealing with. I don't know. This guy looks like Ali Attai. I don't know if that's him, but
We're here.
no, I'm not
Hey,
sure
everyone.
that's him.
We're here with Isa Amro, who
Issa Amro,
is
but,
one.
that's someone else. I thought it was Ali Attai, the debater. But I mean, you can see their material, relentless in confronting individuals, relentless in confronting congressmen. This is Senator Padilla that she confronted. She is regularly in Congress, speaking out and confronting these particular people, questioning them, and they're throwing her out. And she's a tiny woman. a tiny woman that is confronting these 6 psychopaths in power, and they could easily basically put away, kill her, destroy her, and so on. But she's relentless. She's relentless in her way, in her particular confrontation of these particular representatives.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. Do you support? Do you think Nelson Mandela was a terrorist? Do you think the ICC warrant against Putin was valid?
Because it's a coward.
Excuse you. Do you think if you think the ICC warrant was against Putin was valid? Do you think? What about Netanyahu? What about the warrant against Netanyahu? Do you think that's valid? It's freedom of speech.
This is what we are dealing. This is what we are dealing with. This is what we are effectively dealing with in terms of people. Now, as I'm basically speaking, I'm getting messages in relation to this stream. I'm not going to read some of them, but that's just one organization that I wanted. We focused on many of the other clips. This is an organization called Code Pink, and they're doing a phenomenal job in terms of exposing the genocide that is basically happening, exposing what is transpiring. When Netanyahu was there, they exposed him. When Netanyahu came to the Congress, she was present. She was at the hall. She basically tried. They stopped her. They stopped her from entering. This is what's basically happening. So she confronts people like Marco Rubio, and they basically stop her. So I think like-minded individuals of this particular nature, we should basically speak. This was when Blinken was around. If you recall, this is when Anthony Blinken, the sick psycho, was around.
You are a war criminal. Your legacy is massacre of people in Gaza, Secretary Blinken. Secretary Blinken, you have the blood of Gaza's children on your hands. Your legacy is genocide. Your legacy is Secretary Blinken, you will be known as the butcher of Gaza.
So that's it. That's this group called Code Pink. Go to this YouTube channel, Code Pink, and there's quite interesting material. It's an organization they call themselves a feminist grassroots organization, Women for Peace, and they've got some sterling stuff and material dealing with what's going on in Colombia, the tariffs and the U.S.-China trade war, exposing Donald Trump and the capitalist enterprise there. And I think we need to partner with groups and organizations like this. They're doing something which we should be doing. They're doing things which we should be doing as Muslims and as activists. We should be doing all of this, not leaving it in the hands of leaders or leadership or religious leaders. They fail us. Well, what's happening? What are they doing? I mean, there's certainly some, but the reality of the situation is that so much more could have been done. What is remarkable is that you've got 67 Muslim countries, and there's got one country, Israel. 67 cannot basically stand up and do anything and stop it. Even it means the idea of collectively sending Muslim armies. I mean, we can't even do that. Are we so afraid of the international community? Send our occupation force, invade Israel, collectively go and invade Israel, topple the regime, engage in a revolution, do that. I mean, even if just the Gulf states did that, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, well, they're too afraid. They've got the United States backing them and backing Israel, of course. And of course, their interests are there. But with the power and the wealth that they have, do something physically to destroy this evil, satanic, sick, sadistic regime. So, if there's anyone else in the stream, Mohammed, if there's anyone else, we can bring them in. If not, we will continue this discussion. We will have further programs. We'll have Rabbi Feldman again at some point, and many others we're going to probably get. I want people to read. I want people to enlighten themselves with what's basically happening at this particular point in time. Follow the news on the daily basis. Follow the news on the daily basis. The blockade of Gaza, as it stands right now, has passed the 60th day. So there's a 60th day blockade of Gaza right now. And the United States has been defending UNRWA at the International Court of Justice as we stand now. So this blockade that we see, in the latest crisis, this blockade has passed its 60th day. The hunger crisis is totally deepening. The third day of hearings have basically passed in relation to Israel's humanitarian obligations. And this continued blockade is the longest such closure that the Gaza Strip has ever faced. I mean, in fact, on Wednesday last week, I may add, 30 Palestinians were murdered. 30 Palestinians were murdered. The Palestinian NGO network or the various networks that are there are working with what they have. But the kitchens are closing down because they've got nothing. They've got absolutely nothing. Hamas has agreed from day one to release hostages in exchange for ending of the occupation and releasing the Palestinian prisoners and hostages kept in dungeons. They're not even prisoners. They're not even prisoners. This is the whole point. The figures that we are talking about in terms of on a moderate scale, which is basically prudent, if I may add, 52,000. Those figures are given by the health ministry in Gaza. But now international organizations are stating that even that figure is too low. Even the 52,000 given by the Hamas Ministry of Health is still low. If you look at the bombardment of Gaza since March 18th, more than 2,038 through 2,300, 2,400, approximately 2,500, we could say approximately 3,000 people since March 18 to now have been murdered in attacks on tents, hospitals, and school-turned shelters. We've seen some of the burnings that took place. We've seen it before our eyes. Teachers been burning. We've shown it on this channel many times, and many times our channels have been basically blocked. And amidst all of that, you've got the starvation. In fact, the global hunger watchdog, which is called the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, has begun an analysis of food insecurity and malnutrition in Gaza. That assessment began on the 28th of April. It will continue. And it's quite clear that this is why it necessitates this recent application to the International Court of Justice, which the United States has opposed. The United States has opposed. So what do you do in such a situation? What do you do? Because the United States defended Israel on Wednesday, saying that it doesn't work with UNRWA. But UNRWA is the organization that has been basically providing for the refugees from day one. But now if Israel banned that agency from operating on its territory in January, then where does it go from there? And it made the false allegation that its staff members were part of the Hamas attack or part of that attack that took place on October 7th, which is a lie. That was also fake news, just like all the other fake news that we saw of beheaded babies, of murder, of killings and all of that. That never happened. That never actually happened. That never happened. None of that basically happened. This was total lies, total falsehood, and people were duped in relation to that. People were totally duped. There was an interesting report in the Electronic Intifada just a couple of days ago, where and there's just so much of information that one of the individuals that was promoted as a hero on 7th of October, CNN promoted him as a hero. He was exposed as a liar. He was exposed as a liar. I urge you to go onto this channel here if you don't have the time, because we're not going to close the stream shortly. But have a look at this channel here. For those of you who are too lazy to read, have a look at this. This is a channel. Muhammad, if you can share this channel here. It's a phenomenal channel run by Ali Abu Nima, Nora Barrows-Friedman, and it's called the Electronic Intifada. So unlike other YouTube channels, we are not afraid of basically sharing other channels, because it's not about us at the end of the day. It's not about us. It's about the information that we want to get. So the Electronic Intifada it's been around since 2001. It joined YouTube on 2007. It's only got 260,000 subscribers. Not a lot. It should be more than 1 million by now. But they're available online. You go to youtube.com at the Electronic Intifada, whichever country you are. It's an independent online news publication, an educational resource focusing on Palestine, its people, politics, culture. It's founded in 2001, and it gives daily updated information on what is going on in Gaza. Daily information. There are live streams. There are live streams that happen daily. You can follow that. Day 566, that's 7 days ago, live streams the encampment. Day 559. So they basically go through this on a daily basis, giving the latest in terms of what's going on. And then they edit and clip some of the issues that are basically there, like non-stop Israeli massacres as Gaza strives. This is a 27-minute discussion by Nora Barrows-Friedman. She's Jewish, by the way. Nora Barrows-Friedman is Jewish. Here she details this non-stop massacres in Gaza. How media downplayed Pope Francis' concern for Palestinians in Gaza. You have other things, how Gaza's doctors endure the impossible. Again, Nora Barrows-Friedman in conversation with Dr. Tarek Lubani. You've got another thing. Israel massacres children in Gaza and burns tents. 7th of October hero promoted on CNN, exposed as a liar. I mean, this is some of the...
Here's a brief summary of some of the latest developments this week in Palestine.
Look at some...
Israel has committed massacres across all areas of the Gaza Strip, while for 6 weeks now, it has closed all the crossings for food, fuel, medicines, construction vehicles, and every other essential supply, plunging Gaza into another deep starvation and health crisis. More than 390,000 people are estimated to have been displaced again, according to the United Nations, with no safe place to go. Every day, dozens are killed in Israeli attacks. The Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza said that in the last 3 weeks since Israel broke the ceasefire on March 18th, Israel has killed nearly 1,500 Palestinians.
And this was in the beginning of April, by the way.
Al Jazeera reporter Anas al-Sharif shared this video of Israeli fire belt strikes hitting Gaza City on April 3rd. Our contributor Abu Bakr Abed has been reporting on the attacks over the last week on Deir Balah in central Gaza,
April 5th,
where his cousin
2025.
and his cousin's child were killed at the gates of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital on Saturday. The Israeli army has issued forced expulsion orders to residents of Deir Balah in the past few days, threatening residents with attacks if they do not leave. The Israeli military said that it carried out 45 separate attacks across Gaza between Tuesday and Wednesday alone. On Wednesday, April 9th, Israel attacked the Shujaiya neighborhood of Gaza City, destroying dozens of residential buildings and killing dozens of Palestinians. An eyewitness told the Al Jazeera network that, quote, "We were talking in the street and suddenly we were shocked to see these buildings, bricks flying apart, in addition to flying hands and feet." Another survivor added, quote, "It is a massacre with the full meaning of the word. I haven't seen or heard about a massacre like this since the start of the war. Most of the martyrs are children and defenseless civilians." Mahmoud Basal, the spokesperson for Gaza's Civil Defense Corps, said that there were dozens of people missing and stuck underneath the rubble. Al Jazeera's reporter Hani Mahmoud said on Wednesday that, quote, the army not only dropped multiple bombs, but these were also earthquake bombs that shook the very foundations of nearby buildings, destroying the majority of them. Entire residential buildings have been turned into ruins. A large number of casualties arrived at Al-Ahli Arab Hospital in Gaza City, but they are struggling because there is not sufficient medical care available due to shortages of supplies and doctors. Mahmoud said
Go
that
on
civil
here.
defense...
Another clip.
كم شهيد فيه حتى الان
Dead
يمكن
body.
4 كلهم اطفال. شو كان بيعملوا؟ والله كانوا بيوزعوا رز قاعدين رز. والله رز كانوا بيوزعوا عدس. والله رز وعدس بيوزعوا على الاطفال بيضربوهم.
Distributing rice and they bomb them.
انا 5 سنين 6 سنين اكبر بنت فيهم. حرام والله ما بقول يا زلمه نتنياهو يموت. ايش يعني؟ راح يجيبوا واكل ياكلوا، ايش يا عمي؟ خلصونا، شو هذا؟ ايش واكل؟ قالوا لهم واكل وطلعوا عندك اياه.
So they went to a community food kitchen back then, starving, whatever little was there, and they blew them up.
In the south, the Gaza government media office said on April 7th that Rafah is, quote, the city that the Israeli occupation wiped off the map and turned into a complete humanitarian disaster. The media office stated that Israel has transformed the entire Rafah governorate, quote, into a closed military operations zone, completely isolating it from the rest of the Gaza Strip and considering it a complete red zone. It continues to commit horrific massacres against defenseless civilians, causing the systematic and comprehensive destruction of consequences for 1 million children.
This is basically a report that she says more than million children in the Gaza Strip deprived of life-saving aid for over 1 month. That's by UNICEF. That's on the 5th of April, 2025. Aid continues to be blocking. We now on the 1st of May. So it's about close to a month later, slightly less than a month, showing in breach of international humanitarian law and with dire repercussions for children. So this is the YouTube channel. They've got a website, and I urge people out there and viewers not just to share our stream, but have a look at this. Get yourself updated with information here. Follow this and share some of these information. They're debunking the lies of 7th of October witness Rami Davidian. Have a look at that. Phenomenal. Just how to show how these lies were totally false and they never happened. And so on. What is the truth behind the anti-Hamas protests? That was also discussed, the so-called anti-Hamas protests, which one of the callers on the last occasion tried to basically mention. 40% of all killed in Gaza since end of ceasefire are children. I mean, this is another showing that this has not got to do with the lie, the lie of basically, that they're targeting Hamas. And of course, top Democrat Chuck Schumer still spreading Israel's beheaded baby lies, total lies. I mean, look at this. I mean,
why did you want to bring up Chuck Schumer at this point?
Look at the
well, he is still
basically states
Chuck
that
Schumer is still the most
this person, they're spreading the beheaded babies lies. So listen to this. We'll go to that and check that out and see what he says.
Really never that bad until 2017. And until October 7th last year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
when the Jews were attacked
were attacked by Hamas initially, and the women raped and the little babies' heads chopped off and all of that brutally. And all of a sudden, anti-Semitism developed.
What?
See what lies this is. So these are liars you're dealing with. Total and utter liars. Lying and giving their rubbish. There were no beheaded babies. There were no mass rapes. The contrary is happening. Israel's beheading babies and Israel's raping Palestinian women. So therefore, Israel has to be destroyed by the same logic. We should be bombing Israel then. We should be destroying the cities of Israel and getting rid of Israel as a nation state for what it's worth. It has got no right to defend itself. The principle of self-defense is garbage, and it's got no right to exist. It's got absolutely no right to exist. So this is just one example of a website that, a YouTube channel I'd urge you to watch. Listen to Owen Jones, listen to Novara Media as well. George Galloway, I believe, Mohammed on the Coventry Faith Foundation has played his particular, videos and clips on this channel in the past on the Coventry Faith Foundation. So what I'd ask all of you is to share the stream, share it with as many people as possible. I don't see us getting anyone joining the stream now. Basically, let's continue our struggle. Let's continue in sharing the information. We'll continue keeping you updated on what is happening, both in Gaza, both in Israel, and certainly in the wider portions of the world. So till then, my name is Yusuf Ismail, on behalf of the South African Debate Initiative. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the South African Debate Initiative, and make sure you share the stream. This was a stream with Rabbi Dovid Feldman, who joined us much earlier. If you want to, you can extract or clip that particular interview that I had with him earlier this evening and share it as well. Share it on WhatsApp, share it on social media, clip it and share it on social media outlets like TikTok and so on. And like and share and subscribe to this channel, the Coventry Faith Foundation, and let's continue the journey, and let's continue the discussion, and let's continue exposing Israel till Israel, in fact, no longer exists. Till then, this is Yusuf Ismail on behalf of the South African Debate Initiative and the Coventry Faith Foundation YouTube channel. Shalom to those Jewish individuals out there who support us, and assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, to all the viewers out there in whichever part of the world you are in. Take care.